All right. So I'll invite Emily and Miranda to come up with me real quick. So these ladies were 2 of 19 that went on, well, 2 of 25, I guess, that went on Costa Rican missions trip that our high school went on. They unfortunately will not be with us on the 26th when the rest of them share. And we thought that they just have to share, and a video just doesn't do justice. So they were willing to share during a Sunday morning, and this is just to give you a little bit more of a snippet of all the things that we'll be sharing on the 26th. You're invited to come for a Costa Rican breakfast on the 26th, and then we'll be sharing during the service as well. So all morning it'll be Costa Rican. It'll be a lot of fun. So ladies, go ahead and go ahead.
Good morning, I'm Miranda. Costa Rica was by far one of the best mission trips I've ever been on. I got to experience God in so many different ways, which was really amazing. One of the things we did down there was evangelizing, which was going out into the city and praying and talking to people. Before we went out to do that, we prayed and had time to clear our minds and listen to what God was telling us. I had a whole bunch of random things come to my mind, but one thing that stuck out was the color pink. Later, when we went out, the first thing I saw was a woman walking in the street wearing all pink, and she was also carrying a pink umbrella. So I decided that's who I was supposed to talk to. We walked up to her and talked to her for a little bit and found out she was blind in one eye, and I got to pray with her, which was a really great experience. Another cool thing we got to experience was staying at host homes. Me and Katie and Mo got to stay at a woman named Judith's house, and she was really nice but didn't speak or know any English at all, which was kind of difficult. But Google Translate helped us out. One night I was getting ready to brush my teeth and I accidentally dropped my toothbrush down the drain. And I couldn't reach it, so I had to find out a way to tell Judith what I had done. So I used Google Translate to tell her, and it was a little funny, but I was kind of embarrassed because she had to take the bottom part of the sink apart. But she was really nice about it, so it was alright. Also, one morning she gave us breakfast and I got to eat with her. The food there is really good and the pineapple is really, really good. After eating rice and beans for every meal, I got a little bit tired of it though, but it's good. Overall, I'm really glad I got to go on this trip. I got to experience so many new things and it was really fun.
So, like Miranda said, we had an amazing opportunity to stay in host homes. And I got to stay with Katie Gerber, and we stayed in a home with a woman named Frances, and she had 3 young children. One was 9 years old, it was a 9-year-old girl, a 4-year-old boy, and a 1-year-old boy. And they went to the church that we were serving at, and they lived in a small 1-story house that had a kitchen, a small living area, and 1 bathroom and 2 bedrooms. And it was difficult to communicate sometimes because they didn't know English very well, and Katie and I didn't know very much Spanish, but she would often pull out her phone and use Google Translate so we could communicate with each other. And we were usually pretty exhausted when we got back to our host home, but I think we got to talk to her each night, and we got to learn more about her, which was really fun. Sometimes, like when it got tedious to pass the phone back and forth trying to translate, we would just share photos of our families and our pets, and it was nice for a change because we didn't always have to be talking all the time, but we could communicate in other ways. And one of the last nights we were there, we brought gifts for them, and Todd had sent some rose flutes, and we took one for every member of the family, and we had a fun time trying to explain to them how to play it, but it worked out, and they had a lot of fun with it. We were laughing a lot, and we just got to enjoy each other's company. And we even got the kids to try it, and they really liked it too. And it was a really fun experience to get to stay with this family and learn their culture and see how they live. And another thing that we got to do down there was evangelism. And the day that I did it, there were about 10 of us, and we gathered in a room, and we had a time to listen to what God was speaking to us and to see if there were any people, ideas, places, or anything that would lead us to God, who God wanted us to speak to. And I was excited because I'd never done that before, so and I've heard many astonishing stories of it, so I was excited to try it myself. And I really had to trust in God to give me a vision and to show us where we needed to go. So as we heard from God, we wrote our visions down, and then we shared with the group what we saw. And we ended up having a really long list of places and specifically marks and people to look for. Then we started walking around Impala, and the first thing that we saw was a house walked with beautiful yellow flowers. And somebody had thought of yellow flowers, and there were so many, and they were very vibrant. So we stopped at that house, and we met the man who lived there, and we talked to him. And he said he was a police officer, and that was amazing because on our list, somebody had thought of the word police. And I felt God used this for reassurance that we were in the right place and right where we were supposed to be. So he was also a Christian, and we shared about his brother. He shared about his brother and how he was on his heart, and we got to pray with him. It was really encouraging, and he was very welcoming to us. Some other things that were on our list that people had thought of were a man with an umbrella and the word rainbow. And there were two separate thoughts, and they were probably two different people who thought of them, but God worked by putting these two thoughts together. And we saw a man with a rainbow umbrella, so I definitely thought we should go talk to him. And he was actually an evangelist himself, and he was very encouraging to us and said that we were doing great work, and we were able to pray with him too. And then when we got back to the church, we were able to share with the larger group what all the amazing things that happened. And after talking with the other groups, we realized that one of the groups had seen the same man with the rainbow umbrella, and they wished to talk to him, but they were talking to somebody else, and they didn't have the chance to do so, so they were happy to hear that we got the chance to talk to him. It was great that we were able to visit with him when the other group couldn't, and I feel that God did that for a reason, because the other group wasn't able to talk to him, and so God placed him in our path. In our time of prayer, one of the things that I had thought of was a strong man with a short beard and a black shirt on. And then I learned when we all came back that one of the groups found him, and that he was in a very sad situation where he was deported from his own country and separated from his family, and they were able to pray with him. So it was amazing to hear that they were able to do that, and that God put them in their path. So this experience was very life-changing for me, and I learned that I really have to trust in God. We had to trust in Him for what we should look for, and trust that He was leading us to the right people that He wanted us to talk to. And it was amazing to see God work so creatively, and I've experienced nothing like that before.
Thank you, ladies. And that's just a small part of all the amazing stories that you'll hear in the 26th. So I encourage you to come and just hear what God did through our teenagers in Costa Rica. It was an amazing time. Justin, why don't you come up and join me? Most of you, all of you, probably know this fine gentleman, Justin Gerber. He is going to be preaching to us this morning, which I am so excited about. He's been a student leader of ours in our high school youth ministry for 2 years. And just God is doing amazing things through him, so I'm excited to hear what God has put on his heart this morning. Let me pray for you, okay? Father, thank you so much for today. Thank you for Justin. And I pray, God, that you would, most of all, speak through this young man, God, in such a mighty way. God, would you give him the peace? Would you give him calmness? And just allow him to say exactly what you would have us to hear this morning. God, I'd love to praise you. In Jesus' your son's name.
Good morning. So as Justin said, I know that many of you know who I am because I've grown up here. We moved down here when I was around 7 before we left to Michigan, but I'm glad we moved down here to be a part of this amazing congregation. But for those who do not know me, my name is Justin Gerber, as stated by Justin in the bulletin. I just graduated from Smith High School this previous spring, and I'm currently working in a manufacturing company in quality control. So I've loved growing up in this church and getting to know a lot of people. My family, my grandparents, and my cousins, my aunt and uncle. I've And so when Todd asked me to preach, I was like, sure, I'll do this. I know these people, I can do this. So I took his offer and started thinking about what I'd be talking about. So I have heard, I'll be coming from Ecclesiastes 3 this morning, verses 1 through 11. And I've heard this passage many times, just random spots. It's about time. And actually, my oldest sister wrote the passage on the 2x4s when we were building the wing. So little bits and pieces, I've been aware of this passage. And I noticed that I'd never heard a full sermon on just the passage. And so I figured I want to do that. And time's pretty important. So that's what I'll be doing today. But before we go straight into the scripture, I'd like to tell you a story. Just a personal story. So when I was around 10 years old, or I guess growing up, we would often go to a relative's house, and they had these Lemonhead candies that I just loved. So anytime that I could that I was there, I would go grab some candies from my aunt. And so most of the time, she would go into the cabinet, grab them, give me a couple. I'd smile, thank her, and run away while gobbling up those delicious pieces of candy. Now, they were so good that I finished it very quickly, so I'd often return to her to ask for more. Sometimes she would give me more, but only if we had eaten dinner already, because she would tell me that I can't have too many candies or they would spoil my dinner. This didn't make me very happy because I wanted more candies, as most 10-year-olds do. But the key is that she knew something that I didn't want. Everything in life, no matter what it is, event, fun things to do, candies to eat, they have a time when they're designed for it. And candies are not designed to eat a lot of them before dinner, unfortunately. So the writer of Ecclesiastes, Solomon, also knew that everything has its time when it is designed to be used. Now he wrote about more important things than when candy should be enjoyed. But as I've grown older, I've also learned different areas and things that time is precious and it needs to be used in certain times and everything. So before we look closely into the scripture again, let us pray. Dear Lord, help us to feel your presence this morning as we dive into your word to learn more about you. Help us to understand the plans you have for us and give us the courage to follow through with them. Amen. Now let me continue by asking you a question. How many people feel like they want more time? You want more time in your life, right? To go see this, go do that, go hang out with your friends, have more time just to do stuff. Well, let me tell you something. I promise you that by the end of this sermon, you'll have a chance to leave here with more time than with what you showed up with. Now, I know that may sound weird, but if you listen closely, you should be able to hear and see how that's possible. Now, as I was reading and preparing for this sermon, I was looking at the 11 verses, and I realized that the topics of the verses jump around a lot, and so I kind of took all of them and meshed them together, as you can see up here, and they are organized out of order. So as I went to like not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So each of them is within a specific point. So as I read through these, the verses will be up on the screen, so you can follow along easily, or if you'd like to turn in your Bible and follow along, that will be good too, whatever you want to do. So verses 4, 6, 9, and 10. A time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away. What does the worker gain from his toil? I have seen the burden God has laid on him. So my first point is the time you have. Everyone on this earth is living on borrowed time. That is just the fact of life. God has given us a different amount of time, and we have to figure out how to use it to spread His word. Now, everyone has a schedule, whether you write it down in your calendar every week, or you just know it so well that you just go to the next thing and continue throughout your day. But as I'm sure you noticed, there was a song playing during the gathering music that was maybe different. Well, it was different from what we usually listen to here. But I listen to a lot of Christian rap, and that was Lecrae and his song "Don't Waste Your Life." And he has many other songs, but that one I felt like it fit pretty nicely into this topic of time and the time you have. So I wanted to look at one of the lines that he says in his second verse. He says, your money, your singleness, marriage, talent, your time, they were loaned to you to show the world that Christ is divine. And that just stuck out to me with this first point because you have given all these things and you need to be aware that you should be using them properly. And that I just love listening to Lecrae because when you rap, you can speak more words. And so having all these words go through your mind, it makes me think about all these different things more in depth about how I should be using my time. And there's so many things that we can be using our time on. Family, friends, sports, jobs, school, hobbies. There's countless many things in this world that we can spend our time on. My question to you is, what view do you have of your time? Do you take your time for granted? Or are you using it to glorify the Lord? Now, moving on to my second point, I'll be looking at verses 2 and 11. Again, these verses will be up on the screen because they're usually not read together. So, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot. He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the hearts of men, yet they cannot fathom what God has done from the beginning to the end. My second point continues from my first. So it's like a sentence that continues. So the time you have is a gift from God. I hope everyone here can recall a gift that they got at Christmas or one of their birthdays that they just loved. They would take it everywhere with them, or you would take it everywhere with you that you could, use it as often as you could, just because it was what you've always wanted. The person that got you that gift knew that you wanted the gift, and they cared for you, so they got you that gift. So along with their wrapping paper or the tissue paper inside the bag, they also got you something of love in it. As receivers of gifts, you know that the gift that you receive is always packaged with love. And you can't just throw it away. You can't discard it. You have to, you know how important it is. So why would you throw away God's gift of time? Like I said, He is the creator of the universe, and He made everyone a little bit different, but He all gave us time to use. Now, I'm not screaming at you saying that you need to do this, because I also waste my time. I was recently confronted. It was brought to my attention by a friend that he pointed out that I had watched 13 hours of TV in 1 week. And I was like, yeah, that's a lot. I probably shouldn't use my time like that. Because I was just going to the TV to watch whatever it was and using my time to cure my boredom, just pure entertainment. So I got an app on my phone that monitors how much time I spend in certain apps that I watch TV on. And so that's helped me a lot to manage my time more wisely, to be aware of how I'm using my time. So if you also watch a lot of Netflix or whatever your source is of TV on your phone, I would suggest getting an app like this. The one I have is the app Off Timer, but you can also use it for other things if you like to scroll through Facebook on your phone or something. You can easily waste time on that. Now, all these things they're nice things, like TV. You can watch some TV now and then. Facebook's a good thing, stay connected, but you can easily waste too much time on your phone especially. So, my question to follow through this is, are you using your time to enjoy the present, or are you using your time to grow His kingdom for the future? My final point will be on verses 3, 5, 7, and 8. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to tear down and a time to build up. A time to scatter stones and a time to gather them. a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. My third point finalizes the sentence to say, do not waste it. So the time you have is a gift from God. Do not waste it. We all have things in our life that we spend too much time on. Like I said, I waste some of my time watching TV, which I am currently working on. Everyone in this room knows something that they waste their time on. Whether it be your phone or whatever it is, you could be wasting time on anything, honestly. So, another example of me wasting my time in the past has been, so this previous spring, I was finishing up my college writing class in school, and I had to write 2 papers in about a month and a half. And writing college papers takes a lot of planning, but I would often find myself procrastinating and not doing the planning that I needed. The thing is, after that wasted time had passed, I would always regret wasting my time. I was like, I should be working on my paper, but I'm not. And I feel like that is applicable to every time you waste your time. You always regret doing it. So next time you think about wasting your time, whatever you do at home or wherever it may be, think about how you'll feel afterwards, and think about what you could be doing with your time to benefit others or even yourself spiritually instead of just entertaining. So there's another line in Lecrae's song that I thought kind of fit my third point. Hung on the cross in the cold, died for the young and the old. Can't say he never did. Heaven knows how many souls are going to hell or to heaven, so we gotta go in to get them. How often do you share the gospel with someone at work or at school that you don't know about their future? There are many ways to use our time, and if we use it to waste our time, if we waste our time, we can't use it to glorify God. And there are so many people in the world that need to hear the news. And even if they've already heard, I feel like that each and every one of us, has the ability to use our own time to at least show the love of God to them. So, continuing with that, I'd like you to look at your schedule this week and find at least one spot to be like, okay, instead of doing this activity, which I enjoy, I'm going to maybe spend an extra 20 minutes reading my Bible, doing extra devotions, or maybe volunteering somewhere, using your time to benefit others or show God's love somewhere. Because we don't know how much time we have, and once you waste something, you don't get any time back. You use it, it's gone. But the thing is, if you let God control your time, then He will do great things with it. He will help you and equip you with whatever He has put on your heart. So if He has something, if you have thought of something that you want to do, but you're just maybe scared to start it up or something, trust in God, and He will give you the tools to manage your time properly to do great things. All it takes is time to surrender our time and believe that He will make great things happen in our lives and those who show our love to. So I'm hoping today was not just a Sunday morning sermon that you forget in a week or two, but something that will help you through every day for the rest of your life. Because time management is something I haven't just heard. You hear about time management a lot. Everyone has time. It's a common theme for humans. We have time to spend. So going back to the beginning of the sermon about extra time. I wonder how many of you are very confused on how you're going to get extra time. But I am 99.9% sure that none of you have time on your own. So, in order for you not to forget what I said today and everything, I have a little keepsake that everyone can take home, little baggies of time. The spice of time, THYME, Sounds the same, but said the same time and time again. So feel free to grab a little baggie of time on your way out. They should be in the back. To set on something at home just to look at, to remember to use your time wisely. Now I know that managing time is not easy. It's not an easy task. You're not going to be able to fix it within a day, even a week. It'll take months, it'll take years to effectively use your time in the way that God wants you to. But in order for God to help you use your time, you must first have a relationship with Him. Having a relationship with God, He will help you manage your time and in every other aspect of your life. So if you do not have an open relationship with God, or even constantly reading His Word, it's going to be much more difficult to use your time wisely. So if you do not know where you're going once you've used all your time, I would suggest talk to someone who you know is a child of faith, to at least look into a more open relationship with God and Jesus. Because the time He gave us, it's important to use it, but it's also important to think about what happens once we use the time we have. So I know where I'm going, and I try my best to use my time wisely. I don't always do that, but I am working on it. So time is a commodity, and we need to use it wisely. God knows how to use time wisely. I mean, He made everything in 6 days. So we can do whatever we need to in the time He has given us. Let's pray. Dear Lord, thank You for this beautiful day. Thank You for this congregation and the opportunity for me to speak to them from You. Be with us as we go throughout our week. Help us to use our time that You have given us properly. Help us not to waste it, and help us to show Your love to those who need it.
Please stand for our response song.
Pray
why don't you pray with me as we go enjoy the rest of today's day in the Lord. Father, thank you for this morning. Thank you for just everything that you are to us. And as we heard about time, I know that all of us can focus on that a little bit more. God, would you just help us to really focus on how we're using our time and allow others to come into our footsteps, allow us to cross paths with people to share the gospel with, so that we can use our time to glorify and honor you. God, we love you and praise you. We ask that you would go with us today, but never from your presence. Amen. Don't forget to get time on your way out. Have a great day.